Having run a commercial recording studio for 6 years now, I've seen my fair share of do's and don'ts in the recording world. It can be anything from minor mistakes to major mistakes that will ruin the entire day. So this list of 10 things will make sure that you get the most for your money when you head into a studio. Number 1, and this one seems really obvious, but so many people don't do it. Learn your parts. It's super important to know exactly what you need to be playing and to be able to play it right. Okay, you can make mistakes and it's very easy to do another take, but in order to get the most efficiency out of your recording session, it's vital that you know what you're doing and how you're doing it. The less time you take writing new parts or learning parts that you could have learnt at home means you have more time to create great music in the studio. For number 2, this is a follow-on from number 1, and this will help both the engineer and the band. Make sure everyone knows what's going on throughout the song. I personally like to make a roadmap of the song, so at the top of a project, especially on Logic, you can create markers to show where a verse, chorus, bridge, middle 8, all the different components of a song will be. This means that you'll save time when recording. The reason for this is when you're doing overdubs or you're making changes, rather than, for example, me, if I'm engineering, hitting play on the chorus when you wanted me to hit play on the middle 8 and then you have to wait 45 seconds, I just know exactly where to go when you say, can you take me to this part here? There's no guessing and everyone gets everything done efficiently and quickly. Bring your own instrument or plan ahead with the studio to hire one in. It's no use turning up to a session on the day at 10 AM saying, have you got any cymbals? Have you got a spare guitar? We might do, we might not. There's no guarantee, and there's no guarantee that any studio you go to will have these spares. Of course, I have a big selection of guitars at the studio, but they're my personal ones, and so there might be a personal reason for not letting someone use one, and it's the same with any studio. There may be sentimental reasons for not lending things out, and so relying on the studio to have one is never a good idea. Number 4. Make sure you prepare your files before you come in. If you're a singer who is relying on a backing track, make sure you've got the right song. This first sub-point of number 4 is absolutely essential, and it sounds stupid, but I've worked with singers before who have accidentally downloaded the wrong song, and so the whole recording session has had to be binned or cancelled because they don't have the right files with them to be able to do the recording that they wanted to do in the first place. Okay, we might be able to work around it, we might be able to find a copy somewhere. However, it's not ideal. To get the most for your money, you need to be prepared ahead of time. Following on from that last point, make sure the song is in the right key or tempo if you're using a backing track. It's no use practicing something in C minor to then find out it's in F sharp major when you get to the studio. It will just create problems. It can possibly be changed depending on how well equipped the studio and the engineer is. However, it's not always a good idea to rely on them to be able to fix any problems. Make sure you get the right version of your song as well as having the right song before you come into the studio. The final part of number 4 is make sure you're bringing in stems which all start from the same point. They all start from 0, the beginning of the project. I've done mixing sessions before where the stems haven't been bounced from the same point, and so it's absolutely impossible to guess where this one line of audio might be dropped in somewhere in the song. Make it easy and efficient for your engineer by starting everything from the same point. Make sure your engineer knows exactly what you're trying to achieve. If you have a strange buzzing or fuzzing sound on your guitar, but that's exactly what you wanted, your engineer might not know that if you don't tell them, and they might try to remove that sound. This will A, waste time, and B, not give you the sound that you want. So make sure you talk to your engineer before the session starts to say, this is the kind of sound I'm going for, and then they will be able to help you to reach that. For number 6, and this is a big one, make sure you stick to your budget. It's really important to make sure that you can afford all the studio time you need. For example, if a band have paid £1,000 for a recording, mixing and mastering package, and then they end up spending £1,000 worth of tracking time, there's no budget left for the mixing or mastering, and so they either have to go to another studio or do it themselves. This isn't ideal and it can end up costing an absolute fortune, so make sure you plan your day to make sure that you're sticking within your budget and spending the allotted amount of time on each section of the process. For number 7, don't be afraid to bring in your own music, reference tracks or home demos. As a sound engineer, I'm constantly having to play the guessing game of what is my client thinking when they're telling me they want this sound. Well, if you can just show me, it's so much easier. So when you come into a studio, have a set of tracks that sound like what you're aiming for, or if you have the ability to do so at home, record a demo first so we can hear what the song can ideally sound like and improve upon that sound. For number 8, don't drink excessively in the studio. Although this doesn't happen too often, occasionally there are the clients that like to have a bottle of wine while they're recording, for example. This is absolutely fine if the studio will permit you to do so. However, if it gets to the point where your guitarist can't even play his lines anymore, maybe you're going a bit too far and then you're just going to be wasting the hourly rate that you're paying or the day rate that you're paying. Make the most of your time by keeping your mind sharp while you're in the studio. Don't let your studio session get crowded. Sometimes there are clients that like to bring friends, family along. This doesn't happen too often, but it does happen occasionally. And sometimes this is absolutely fine. If people are respectful of the fact that you're trying to do a recording session and they're quiet and observant, no problems whatsoever. However, if they're sitting on the sofa and I can hear them playing Angry Birds, it's really not going to work. So you need to make sure that any guests that you bring with you are quiet, respectful of the fact that you're probably paying quite a lot of money to be in the studio, and they let you get the most out of your time with your engineer. Finally, and I think most importantly, stay positive. It can be difficult to stay positive when you're spending days and days on end playing the same songs and sometimes not getting it right, making mistakes, having to do repeated takes over and over again. But if you're working with a talented engineer, and to be honest, if you're in a studio, you're likely to be talented as well, you'll get there. All it takes is perseverance and you will reach the target that you're aiming for. You will have a finished track if you keep pushing and keep aiming towards that target. So thanks for watching. If you like the video, please like and subscribe, and don't forget to share it with your friends. If there's anything I haven't thought of, and of course there will be because there are hundreds of points that I could include in this video, please don't be afraid to share them in the comments down below. Until next time, thanks very much for watching.